All right. Well, hey everyone. It's Rebecca Ruth here, and I'm joined today with local designer Amanda Campbell. Amanda is the designer for her line ABLE by Amanda Campbell. So I'm going to let her share a little bit more about her line and just a little bit more about her story. Take it away, Amanda.
Thank you. So my name is Amanda Campbell, and I am the owner and fashion designer of ABLE by Amanda Campbell. With everything that I create, I strive to promote mental health advocacy, eating disorder awareness, and environmental sustainability in everything that I make. Um, the meaning behind the name ABLE is it came from strong women in my life, and each letter is an initial for that strong woman. But it also kind of encompasses what I want women to feel when they wear my clothing, which is authentic, brave, loved, and empowered. So that's kind of the gist of what ABLE is. So what all I do is I create 2 runway collections a year, which I'm currently working on one. And that will be a part of various fashion shows. I'll get into a little bit more of that soon. I also have capsule collections, which are little collections that I do each season twice a year, and they consist of 4 garments and usually 1 accessory. And they are made of eco-friendly fabric, and they are sized extra small to extra, extra large. And you can get those on my website and also at Very Ashley, which is in Richmond. And then you can also find my accessories at 2 local stores in Norfolk, Virginia, Stencil and Knot, and For All Handkind. So I do runway collections, capsule collections, and then I do custom garments for people. I'm currently working on a few different things. One is like a graduation dress for somebody who her son is graduating college at the end of May, so I'm making her a special design. I'm also working on a wedding dress design possibly for a client. And then the last thing that I do with ABLE by Amanda Campbell is I have sewing and fashion design classes. And I do at-home private sewing lessons if you live in the Newport News area. I know a lot of you are based in Richmond, so sorry about that. And then I also have introduction to machine sewing classes and workshops and private sewing lessons that are offered at the Downing Gross Cultural Arts Center, which is in Newport News as well. So that's all that ABLE by Amanda Campbell is. I am coming out with a new product at the end of May, so keep your eyes peeled for that. I'm really excited for it. It's been about a year in the works now. So a little bit of background on me and why I really started ABLE. Um, my grandmother was a home economics teacher, and she taught me how to sew when I was really young, and kind of dabbled with it on and off. I think she taught me when I was like 7 or 8. My mom went to school for fashion merchandising, and she would sew off and on, and I would see her and my grandmother sewing a lot. My grandmother was also like an avid quilter, and just did all kinds of sewing projects, and it was awesome to see all of that. But then when I really got into sewing and fashion design was around age 11. So when I was 10 years old, I struggled with an eating disorder. Um, and I took a sewing and fashion design class at a local fabric store when I was 11 and learned to make clothing that fit my body and made me feel beautiful and confident and strong. And that felt like a real superpower to me. Like that was just so empowering and made me feel so amazing. And learning to love my body again by making clothing that made me feel comfortable and at home in my own skin was just amazing. So that's kind of when I decided, like, I want to do this as a profession, as my job. I want to help other women feel the same way and feel like they just love their bodies and appreciate their bodies and feel at home in their bodies. Um, so yeah, I kind of knew early on that I wanted to go into fashion design and sewing as a profession. So from there, I continued to take sewing and fashion design classes all throughout middle school and high school. Um, and then I went to college at VCU and I went for fashion design, got my degree there, and then went and started. I wasn't really sure what I was doing after I graduated. I didn't get a job right away. So I moved to Newport News, Virginia, um, and I got a job working at Busch Gardens, which is where I currently still work. That is my full-time gig. ABLE by Amanda Campbell is technically still just a part-time gig for me, or another second full-time job, kind of. um, but yeah, so I started working at Busch Gardens, and then while I was there, after I graduated college, I just wasn't really sure what I was doing with my life. I had kind of slowed down a little bit on Able by Amanda Campbell. I'd kind of done a few fashion shows, but that was really it that I had done with the brand up to that point. Um, so I was just kind of feeling lost and confused, kind of having my little quarter life crisis or whatever, as most young adults go through. Um, and started struggling with my eating disorder again. And I'm currently still struggling, but I'm getting treatment. I have an outpatient team that I'm working with, but struggling with my eating disorder, I got back into sewing and making clothing again for me. And that has really, really helped me to work towards recovery in my eating disorder. And that's really been a game changer. And that inspired me to restart Able by Amanda Campbell again. And that's when in November of 2018, I technically like registered Able by Amanda Campbell as a brand, as an LLC. And that's when I really got back into like doing the runway shows, started doing my first capsule collections, started doing custom garments for everybody, and started doing the sewing classes and everything. And that has been so fulfilling and so life-changing for me. Really starting my brand again has kind of, I don't want to sound presumptuous, but like it's saved my life. Like sewing and designing, it's a very therapeutic process for me. It's a way for me to process my emotions, my feelings, life events. And I kind of usually, for runway collections at least, take inspiration from my struggle with mental health and struggle with my eating disorder and translate that into different designs, and translate that into beautiful clothing. So doing that, making things, it's just, I can get lost in it and I can feel totally just free from everything, free from the stress and craziness of the world, and just feel like myself, like 100% like myself, like my true being. So that's really why I love what I do, and I continue to do what I do. And when I make things for other people and just see how happy they are, it just inspires me to just keep going.
Wow. Um, I really appreciate you sharing, Amanda. I was about to call you Rebecca. That's my um, and I didn't know that that's what ABLE stood for. So that's awesome to hear that. And I think it's also very brave to speak transparently about your eating disorder and to speak about the fact that it is something that you're still, is an ongoing struggle. Um, and I know that that's a topic that's really difficult, especially in this industry. I talk about all the time how this industry is not an easy industry because we are judged 100% on what we look like or what we put on our clients, what we put on the runway. That's what we're judged on. Unfortunately, this industry judges you on that first, and then who you are as a person second, if ever at all, to be honest. So it's definitely an issue in this industry. So it's awesome that you speak so candidly about it. So what are you mentioned an outpatient team. What are some of the things that you're doing to kind of manage the disorder?
Yeah. So right now I see a nutritionist every other week. I go to therapy once a week, and I go and see my doctor every other week as well. And I've just been working with them really hard. And, I think the only way that we're going to make a change in this industry is if we just start talking about it. Like, we should talk about taking care of our mental health and our well-being just as much as we talk about taking care of our body physically. And like, everybody's like, oh, I went to work out. It should be like, oh, I went to therapy. Like, we should be able to talk candidly and openly about that. And I think starting a conversation is the best way to end the stigma.
Absolutely. And of course, this platform, the Runway to Life platform, as you know, is
Yeah.
all about, continuing the conversation about mental health. And of course, doing it through fashion. But that's the whole point, is to take away that stigma and to open up that conversation. I don't
Yeah.
know if you watched the video with Danielle McDowell earlier this week, who's a resident counselor, and she talks about that, not being ashamed of going to counseling. And she spoke about it kind of like more of a maintenance thing, actually, that you just kind of go regularly anyways, but especially if you're struggling with something. So I think that's amazing. I talk a lot on this page about using your platform for positivity. I don't sugarcoat things when it comes to the fashion industry. I've been in the fashion industry for about 16 years now, and the thing is, I love this industry. I do, but I'm not naive to the fact that there's a lot of difficulties in this industry. So I tell people, you have such a big and powerful platform when you're in the fashion industry. Why? The same reason that it's hard. All eyes are on you.
Yep.
So that's the hard part, but that's also the powerful part. Every time a model hits the runway or does a photo shoot, she's sending a message. She's sending a message, or they are sending a message about who they are, what they support, what they don't support, what they allow, what they agree with. Every single time you step on that runway or in front of a camera for somebody, you are sending a message about who you are. As a designer, what you design and put on your clients, that's sending a message about who you are. And so it's a huge platform. It's, so again, that has its pros and its cons, but let's make it a pro,
Right.
and send positive messages through that platform. So I think that's awesome. I know that you're also involved with Runway to Life. So tell us a little bit how you became involved with Runway to Life.
Yeah. So I am going to be a part of their Mindful Wine World Tour event. They are rescheduling that. Hopefully it will be in May, which actually turns out to be a little bit better because May is also Mental Health Awareness Month. So that's kind of like perfect timing to reschedule it for them. So keep on the lookout for information from One Ray to Life on information on that. but I'll be showing my latest collection, which is called Endure. And that is a collection that's inspired by um, my endurance and my body's endurance, especially through my eating disorder, and how much I truly appreciate it because I'm still here, I'm still fighting, and I'm still standing. And this collection is like my thank you to my body for everything that it's done, despite everything that I've put it through.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that's such a strong and powerful name for a collection. And I know this was back towards the beginning of the conversation, but you talked about how your line was about empowering women. And that's something I think we hear a lot now in society about empowering women. And sometimes, honestly, I feel like the message gets a little skewed about what we mean by that. But and this isn't to say that men don't struggle with with eating disorders and stuff like that. I think women are just more forthcoming about speaking about it, to be honest. So I love that as well, that that's the message behind your line. But I love that, endure. Yeah. And I'm really listen, the coronavirus
Right.
is changing a lot of things for our
Yeah.
schedule right now. So that is a bummer that we had to push back that event. But it's maybe, like you said, it's probably for the good. Maybe it's meant to happen because now it's in May, or hopefully in May.
Right.
So hopefully we will all get through this soon and be able to see each other face to face.
Right. Yeah. But
Oh,
I mean, it should be a great event. I mean, it's got food, wine tastings, other local artists, live music. It should be a really, really great event. And there's prizes and all kinds of stuff.
yeah, I was definitely planning on going, and whenever it gets rescheduled, I'll definitely post it on this page for everyone. So Amanda, for okay, so let's say you're talking to someone who's thinking about becoming a designer
Mhm.
and getting into that world. What is something that you would say to that person?
You have to love it. As you said, it's not an easy industry. You will have more critics than you've ever known. People will try and tear you down and try and push you away from the industry, but you just have to keep fighting. You have to believe in yourself. And that's with everything in life, but especially in the fashion industry, you have to know your customer, know your brand, and know what you're selling. Because, I mean, what you're putting out into the world should serve a purpose, and it should have a clear message. And as long as that's there and you have that core and you have that belief in everything that you're doing and this dedication, you can make it. And it takes time. I mean, I've read it, like I said, like I really didn't start my brand until November of 2018. I'm still learning and growing, and like my brand's only like a year and a half old now. But it's ever evolving and changing. But yeah, really just believe in yourself and know that you can do it.
I love that. Yeah. You touched on something that I talk about all the time. I've been in the industry, for 16 years. I haven't shared my story on here yet. I will eventually. But and I'm still growing. I'm still
Yeah.
evolving and changing, and I always tell people, don't get to the point where you think you know it all,
Right.
because you don't, first of
Yeah.
all. There's always someone else that you can learn from, but be true to who you are,
Right.
like you said, like know who you are, know what your brand is, but then be willing to grow within that brand still,
Right.
I would say. So
Something isn't working, don't be afraid to pivot and go in another direction. Or like with this new thing that I'm coming out with in May. Like, don't be afraid to start new endeavors. Because again, if you believe in it, then it could succeed and it could be really successful. You just have to be willing to like take a chance on yourself sometimes.
Right, right. And one of the things that I love about this group, for example, I don't know if you're in a group with other fashion people, but one of the things I love about this group is that, there's a lot of talent in this group.
Oh yeah.
There's a whole lot of talent in this group. So I always encourage people, reach out to the people in this group. If you're someone in this group is doing something that you want to do, that you're thinking about kind of, you know, checking out, reach out to them. Or if you're brand new to the industry and you just want to chit chat with people who've been doing this for a little while, reach out. So that's why I also love this group, because it gives you that opportunity. If you don't know where to start looking for that kind of mentorship, this group is a great place to start. So take advantage of that. But so how can people get in touch with you? What is your social media information?
Sure. So on Facebook and on Instagram, we are at Able Fashions. My website is ablebyAmandaCampbell.com. You can email me at ablefashiondesigns@gmail.com.
Awesome. Awesome. So definitely reach out. I checked out your website, of course. And like I said, well, you and I are close enough to each other. You can probably meet in person
Yeah.
before the group meets, but everyone else will have to see them whenever, things calm down a little bit and we can see everyone face to face. But
So I'm doing like online sales and everything like that, and I can do like online custom order things
awesome.
like that.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so everyone, thank you so much, Amanda, for sharing and for coming on here.
No, thank you.
So everyone, please feel free to reach out to Amanda and her social media. She's also in this group, so you can find her in the group as well and reach out to her here on Facebook, of course. And just keep a lookout whenever the event with Runway to Life, where Amanda will be debuting her new line, right? Endure. Yeah. Whenever that gets rescheduled, I'll definitely be posting it on this page. But other than that, thank you so much for your time, and hopefully we will connect soon.
Yes, thank you for having me and letting me share a little bit more about Able by Amanda Campbell and just share my story.
All right. Well, thank you so much and have a great evening.
All right, thanks.
Bye.